Good evening, everybody. Welcome to season 2, episode 8 of the Small Talk podcast, monthly entertainment news show with Marlene Sharp and Chris Pomay on this Thursday, August 29th, 2024. We're fast approaching Labor Day weekend in Canada and the United States. And I'm looking forward to my show tonight with Marlene and our special guest, who will be on in a minute or two. The Small Talk podcast is live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, I still call it Twitter, and Instagram, and available on all major audio platforms. And also, the Small Talk podcast is on WQEE 99.1 FM, Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports, once a month as well. Anyways, guys, I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday, August 29th, 2024. Just waiting for my co-host Marlene Sharp to appear, but my guest is already in the back room, so we're going to bring her on tonight. And I'm excited to have her on tonight, thanks to Marlene. And my guest's name is Jenna Rosenberg, CEO of GenCom, a 30-year toy licensing and entertainment industrial executive, and she's focused on social impact, consumer products, and business strategy. And I'm excited to have Jenna on. I apologize, guys. I haven't been feeling well today, and my allergies have been killing me, but I'm looking forward to this episode tonight. And we're going to bring on my guest right now, Jenna Rosenberg. Good evening. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Chris. How are you? Good
I'm
to see you.
a little bit under the weather today. Just didn't get enough sleep last night, and my allergies have acted up. I usually get allergies in May and August from the pollen. Today was just one of those days.
Yeah, allergies have been bad here too. I'm in Southern California and it's hot and everything's still blooming and lots of allergies. Well, I hope you feel better.
Well, thank you so much. Today was much cooler here temperature-wise, but tomorrow with the humidity, it's supposed to be 95 here tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm ready for some small talk.
Well, that's great. And Marlene was great enough to get you to come on. So I want to thank you to Marlene and yourself for coming on here as well.
Yes, I am president of the Marlene Sharp fan club, and I love the show. So it's an honor to be here. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you. I do 2 other shows on top of this. So this is my 5th show in 7 nights.
Wow, superstar. That's great. Wow. Is there still more stuff to talk about?
Well, yes, and my one show it's kind of a complete talk show, and then I have a football show that I do for the Canadian Football League here, which is our version of the NFL, and then the Small Talk podcast I started a year ago, and this is the 2nd season of it, and Marlene's joined me for the 2nd season this year.
Yes, excellent.
So how are you doing, and how are things in Los Angeles right now?
Everything's going great. It's a busy time in the toy and licensing industry. I've been working in this industry for a long time, about 30 years, as you mentioned. And
congratulations.
Thank you. We have the fall toy previews coming up in a couple of weeks, which is essentially big meetings in Los Angeles that happen with retailers from around the world and toy makers from around the world. And lots of activity that are happening coinciding with that. A conference I'm producing with some colleagues and a bunch of other fun activities. So it's been a busy time.
Have you ever been to Canada yet?
I have. Actually, my husband and his family, my husband was born in Toronto and my father-in-law was Canadian. And so we have spent most of our summers in Toronto for some time at Lake Simcoe.
Okay.
So we've spent time at a cottage there almost every year. So I've been married almost 20 years. So I love Toronto. There's actually toy companies like Spin Master also, and Swerve PR and some other companies that are based in Toronto as well. So there's a bit of a toy hub there.
I know Toronto well. I'm there quite often, but I take the GO train into Toronto because I think Toronto is one of the worst cities in North America for traffic.
Okay.
I know New York's bad and LA's bad, but Toronto is bad for traffic too.
And what part of Toronto, or what part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Ontario. Here's the funny thing, this technology, my show is in a city called Guelph, Ontario, which is 150,000 people. It's about an hour from Toronto, but
Mm-hmm.
it airs remotely to a radio station in Georgia. So I can
Oh,
radio from my own home with the right equipment.
oh, wow, that's great.
This technology is amazing. Hey, I wanted to ask you this too. I was born in the 70s, so I'm an old guy, but I grew up with toys. And back in the 70s, the big toys were the Star Wars toys. And I'm thinking if I had kept some of them in mint condition from back in the 70s, I'd be rich right now.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a huge market for adult collectibles and, collectibles that are in good shape in general. So if you have some of those, I have my toy collection from when I was a kid. I might be able to share turn my camera and show you, but I have some of my old Cabbage Patch Kids and other toys that I really loved from when I was a kid. So I still keep them. And
Cabbage Patch Kids.
yes, and over the years, I've worked with many different very famous collectible brands like the WWE and UFC and lots of other action figure brands. So if you can hold on to those and keep them in good shape, they could be worth a lot of money.
Cabbage Patch Kids, I believe, were the craze of what, 84, 85, I
Mm,
believe.
yeah, in the early 80s. And I had my aunt and uncle, my aunt Arlene and Uncle Lenny, and bought me my first Cabbage Patch Kids, an original one of the ones from Babyland General Hospital, and one from my cousin Randy and I. And I still have her. She's a very precious, one of my most precious possessions. Her name's Alma Bridget. And then since then, actually, I've done public relations for Cabbage Patch Kids multiple times throughout my career. So I love that brand. It's very special.
All right, and I have some good news. Co-host Marlene was able to get on.
Oh,
Um,
good.
hey, that's the technology. Technology, when it works, is great, but sometimes you do have snags. And my co-host who arranged you is on. Hi, Marlene.
Hi, Jenna. Hi,
Hi,
Chris.
Marlene. We've had some time to talk about Canada and Cabbage Patch Kids, and we've been. I'm so glad you're able to come too.
Of course,
But
everything that's important in this world, Canada and Cabbage Patch Kids.
well, as you know,
Yes, I'm a huge Cabbage Patch Kid fan, longtime fan, and collector.
yes. Oh, great. Yeah, I was just giving everyone a sneak peek of my Cabbage Patch Kids. And then actually, when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's 15 now, we did a big launch for one of the milestone anniversaries for Cabbage Patch Kids at the Toys R Us in Times Square. I think it was maybe the 25th anniversary or the 35th anniversary. I'm aging myself, but we had a huge birthday cake that was made by Duff Goldman from Ace of Cakes.
Oh,
And Xavier Roberts, the creator of Cabbage Patch Kids, came and he signed a Cabbage Patch Kids tushy for my daughter who was in my belly. So I not only have my original ones, I have the one of the ones that he signed for my
what a
child.
treasure. I don't know if Chris knows all this detail about Cabbage Patch Kids. We're really getting into the weeds here.
Mhm.
The weeds
But
of
they're
the
all
Cabbage
signed
Patch.
on their rear end. They're signed on their rear end. They have a signature. But of course, on the ones that are made in stores, they're stamped on. So the fact that he actually signed mine is very special.
Oh, yes, that's a museum piece right there.
Yeah. So, and that's what we were talking about, Marlene, was, um, toys that Chris had when he was a kid, collectibles like Star Wars action figures and things. Are they, valuable today? And so I was just mentioning that that's actually the collector market is enormous in the toy and licensing industry.
Yes. Speaking of the licensing industry, we have something coming up. Did you talk about that already? I was too busy.
Not yet. I just mentioned on the surface that I've been busy working on an event in the next couple of weeks. But Marlene's going to be speaking on a panel to the industry. That's really exciting.
Yes. Tell
Should
us
I
more,
tell us? Yeah. So
Go ahead.
well, there's a cool trade magazine called License Global International that over 20 years ago was founded by a licensing industry legend named Stephen Extract, and he's since sold. Hi, Steven. He's since sold the magazine. Good for him. But now he puts on these incredible conferences that are really executive level education, teaching the people who know everything, hopefully a thing or two that they don't know yet. And so I feel really honored to have been working with him and also another industry colleague, Sid Kaufman from United Talent Agents, to curate a whole day's worth of content about the future of the licensing industry and how companies and executives, studios, retailers are using lots of new tools and looking at new IP and really growing the business in very unique ways as our society changes, right? Like big brands, where they come from now are often like digital first brands coming from influencers and companies, and people are using AI in lots of ways, and there's lots of like innovation impacting the way that people are shopping. So we're going to talk about all these fun topics, and Marlene and I, have been working together to conspire on a fun topic too. Marlene, do you want to tell everyone about that?
Yes. Well, Chris is somewhat familiar of my work with the autism community because we had Judy Utah as a guest. And
amazing. Judy Utah, the founder of Autism and Entertainment.
Yes, and president of Orange County Asperger's Support Group. So she's a previous guest on the show, and she talked all about the first ever Autism and Entertainment Conference, which we had back in April. And we talked about different forms of entertainment, animation versus live action versus themed and video games, but we didn't get too much into licensing and consumer products that much with Judy. It was just very top line bullet points. So this might be Chris's entree into the world of merchandise driven entertainment and licensing too. So
great.
So yeah, so we're hopefully opening new doors for you too, Chris.
If you can see I got my own mug and my own logo brand.
Perfect. You're just like 5 steps away or 2 steps away from being your own action figure. And now today with so much technology, personalization, customization, there are so many ways that people can actually have personalized merchandise of themselves, of art that they love. And we can get back to that in a minute, but this brings up so many things. First of all, I just want to say, Marlene, you have such a huge heart. And
you do.
Thank you. And I'm so excited for the talk that we're going to have at the X-Track around ways that the licensing industry and people who work in consumer products and licensing in the toy industry can really make an impact, leading with intention if they want to create change we want to see. So I think as an industry, people really want to be doing good work. They want to have more inclusive teams who have, employees who are working at companies. We want to be making product lines that are really adaptive and inclusive for lots of different people who have different needs, whether that be, a physical or mental disability, or products that are more inclusive in their representation or break down stereotypes. So the thing is, though, that sometimes people just don't even know. They're not even thinking about the things that they're not doing, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so I love this opportunity to share out with people the best practices, how they can find maybe diverse talent who could be available and could really help strengthen their companies. Like the Easter Seals Disability Services are going to be there, and, Autism and Entertainment is going to be there. And there is so much talent that could really be contributing to these companies. And there's a business case for it too. So we'll be able to talk about all those things.
Yeah. Speaking of Easter seals, I was just messaging with Nick Novicki, who is the founder of the Easter Seals Disability Challenge, which is essentially a 48 or 72-hour film festival where teams of people with disabilities come together during a crunch time and make a short film, and then there's a contest aspect to it. So I had participated 3 years ago with Brainstorm Productions and the Center for Learning Unlimited, a studio with autistic adults as the core animation team. Anyway, Nick is offering a fantastic opportunity for alums of the challenge. I don't know if you were familiar with this, Jenna, but they're so generously contacting everybody who's ever been in the challenge and offering to make them a demo reel, because a demo reel is so key to creative careers, a compilation of all the different things that you've done in your career. And so people with disabilities oftentimes don't have the resources or the whatever to do it themselves. So here is Easter Seals Disability Challenge just stepping in there and saving the day. So I just wanted to acknowledge that extraordinary gift to the community.
That is so cool. And Nancy Weintraub from Easter Seals is going to be at the X-Track feature licensing event. And I know that David Daniel, I saw coverage from David Daniel from CNN, who covers the Easter Seals Disability Challenge.
Oh, yeah.
That's like so far reaching. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so Marlene's going to be on that panel, and then we're going to be talking about a ton of different issues around AI and, David Schneider from Nolan Hyman and a group of incredible attorneys are going to be talking about, pioneer pirates and like different issues, legal issues around utilizing information that people are getting from AI. And the trend hunter is going to be there, and a lot of interesting folks. So people can go to entertainmentextracts.com if they want to get tickets and join us in Beverly Hills on September 12th.
It's not far away. By the way, we have some comments from LinkedIn. Brenda Cito. She says, "Yay, Canada!" And then LinkedIn user, I have no idea who it is. Love me some collectibles, especially prop replicas. That's after. And another LinkedIn user, anything for voiceover talent with disabilities, voicing toys and without disabilities. Did you want to answer that, guys?
I know who that second LinkedIn user is. Do you know who it is, Jenna? Can you guess?
I have an idea, maybe a voice of God that we might know, but I think that there are some, hi Tyler, I think there's some, great work that I'm hoping we can create some pathways for in television commercials and sizzles. Marlene, I was just mentioning to Chris before you joined that there's the Los Angeles Fall Toy Previews are coming up. And these are meetings there. So I don't know if people know, there are 1,000 toy companies in the United States. That's like
crazy.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so I do a lot of work. I'm actually teaching a class at the University of Maryland, and I try to share out to anyone who wants to listen to me that there are 1,000 toy companies in Los Angeles, and there are so many jobs. And there are all the other service providers that create services for the toy companies, like advertising agencies and social media companies and designers and inventors and lots of other folks, right? Attorneys and assistants and truck drivers. So it's really an important part of the economy in the United States. There's over 300 toy companies in Southern California alone.
Wow.
And there are so many jobs. So whatever you love, whatever you're good at, there's a job doing that in the toy industry. And yes, so we're having this fall toy preview. 300 companies probably are going to be displaying their goods and meeting with retailers and showing off their treasures. And so you know what they do? They create videos. And those videos often have voiceover. So I think there's definitely a really interesting opportunity. The 1,000 companies, the number, hopefully it's not too dated, but during the pandemic or before the pandemic, there were 1,000 toy company members of the Toy Association. So there may be a little bit less now, but essentially there's lots and lots and lots of companies. And, except for some people that I know that inherited a family toy business, almost everyone I've ever met just accidentally fell into the toy industry. And so that really resonated with me, including me. I did not think I was going to go into the toy industry, but I had transferable skills like my communication skills and creativity and other things that I honed along the way, my interest in activism. And these are all things that led me to the toy industry. But I think that if we can actually tell people about this, we could really inspire a lot more people to come with intention into the industry and have really exciting, lucrative jobs, and then also bring their gifts and talent and ideas and innovations to the toy industry too, and be the future leaders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And to build on that, going back to something else you said about all the different service providers to the toy industry, I met one last week and through LinkedIn. So we became friends on LinkedIn and realized that we both live in the West Valley, just like you, Jenna. So maybe you know this wonderful gentleman too. His name is Brian McCoy. I don't know if you can see
I don't know Brian McCoy yet, but now everybody knows. Who is Brian McCoy?
Yeah, well, he is the creative director of Double Plus Good. That's his business, and funny story, Jenna. We met at our favorite Indian restaurant for lunch.
You went without me.
I know. I confess. This is my my reckoning right here. So anyway, but hopefully we're mending fences. We're bringing it all together. I don't know if I even told.
Yeah, now I have to go tonight to get Indian food now. Now you put the idea in my mind, and I'm craving it. Chris, I'm gonna go. Okay, no, wait. I'll wait till after. Okay, I'll wait till after. I'm just joking.
Brian had never been to that restaurant either. The tandoori, our favorite. Anyway, we're getting a little bit off track. But Brian and I knew each other from LinkedIn circles, and then just through messaging, we realized, okay, we're both in the West Valley, which is a very niche kind of a place in Los Angeles, if there is such a thing anymore. So we got together, and I knew he had a media company, but I didn't know that he was primarily an expert in the toy industry. And he's done, his specialty is trailers, like all kinds of release trailers or promotional trailers, but he's worked for big brands like Transformers. He actually did something for the new Transformers animation that's coming out soon. And then he'd worked with Mike Young and Splash Entertainment, which is another West Valley colleague of ours. And it was so hilarious, like all the people we knew in common, and yet we had never crossed paths. So I told him about the X-Track conference, and he said he would be registering. So maybe he registered already.
Oh, great.
But yeah, he was delighted to know about it. So shout out to Brian. And of course, we have another friend, Pablo Garahan, who is in a similar kind of business, doing commercials and promos specifically serving the toy business. So
yeah, and Pablo and his company Fiction Films, they do a lot of TV commercials and a lot of sizzles for the toy industry, but also he also has a huge heart. Yes. And it's really inspiring to see how many of our colleagues, are making an intentional stake in saying, like, I want to do good. I want to lead other companies to help them through storytelling, talk about, celebrate the way that companies are making an impact. So he has a new company called Impact Platform. And, we're trying to do some work with the Impact Platform, which is essentially, helping to share great ideas with companies who are doing good work, and then putting that in the form of short form content that can be shared out to the world. Because really, we need more happiness in the world, right? We need more people who are just putting positivity out there and helping others, and who are, being the change, create the change we want to see in the world, right?
Jenna, before we get to some questions, I wanted to talk to you and Marlene. I know Toys R Us in Canada survived and is still here, but can you just talk about Toys R Us and their bankruptcy, and are they back at full strength in your country again?
Sure, absolutely. So Toys R Us is such an interesting story because, they went through a lot of change. They tried to reinvent themselves a number of different times, and the retail landscape really changed so much. The way people are shopping, the way they're making decisions or shopping more online, the real estate market took a lot of turns as well. And so, yes, Toys R Us for a time went out of business, but then they have reemerged and they're incredibly strong. So they have a very different business model now. Instead, there is a group of people who came in and took over the brand. And then they've made relationships, collabs with other retailers. So they're not taking on all of the burden of having they're focusing on what they're really good at, which is having a brand that everybody loves. And they're running a smaller number of Toys R Us corporately owned stores, like in the Mall of America, and a couple of other places. And then they have Toys R Us has reemerged triumphantly inside of Macy's stores nationwide. So actually, Toys R Us, the president of Toys R Us Studios, is going to be at the Extract event also because, Chris, I don't know if you heard this, but Toys R Us just came out with the world's first AI created television commercial. So
Did not know that.
It's so cool. They were one of the first people to come out with that. And they worked with a company called Native Foreign, which is one of the first companies in the world to, also have worked with them to create this sort of a masterpiece. But basically, they really created something that's never been done before by creating the story of Charles Lazarus, who is the founder of Toys R Us, and what his vision was for this brand. So that might be a cool thing to put in the link, which I can share afterwards, but it got a lot of attention. And actually that team is going to be at the Extract event talking about how they did it and, the journey of, sort of the ups and downs and like positives and negatives of brands that are taking risks, right? Because a lot of and how they taught the AI to really understand the brand voice, what he should look like, what they wanted to convey, and it really sort of created a lot of chatter about it of like, is this a smart thing for brands to do or not? And then also something that I think is really interesting about it, which is the human touch. So in business, a lot of people are, and probably consumers too, a lot of people are really concerned about AI. Is it going to take jobs away from people? Or, how are you going to know what's real and what's not real? Well, the thing is, another group of people, Robin Zucker and Matt Edelman, are talking about how AI could be your ultimate business wingman, because it's really, at the end of the day, it's the human touch working with AI that's really going to be the magical superpower that's going to help companies. So you can't just think that you're going to use AI and fire all your employees and get it done, because it's going to be obvious and you're not going to get the results that you need. But it could really free up, if you use it the right way, to create in different unique ways depending on which program you're using. You can also create things really that are quite special.
So there's still going to be a human element, which is good. Before we let Marlene get to some questions with you, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I want Marlene's thoughts today. I'm a 52-year-old man. I grew up with Atari, Genesis, Pac-Man, video games like Galaga, Asteroids. What are today's most popular toys for boys and girls in America, especially?
Well, let's see. What comes to mind is not the question that you asked, but I love all those things too. And I did the VR for a bunch of them for Atari. And I just read
Pac-Man?
yesterday that Pac-Man, I just read yesterday that Pac-Man is celebrating its 45th anniversary
Wow.
this year.
I'm old.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
reading a really interesting article in Licensed Global magazine and also in the toy book. James On just wrote an article about I love this concept of miles. I will get back to your question, but just saying, I love this concept of my brands celebrating milestones. Actually, just yesterday started my class for this semester at University of Maryland, and I just gave my students a homework assignment to read this article about brands celebrating milestones. In my career over the last 30 years, I have really encouraged my clients to lean into brand milestones as like creating an impetus and a reason for people to talk about your stuff. Like, it's my birthday, like as if it's your birthday, it's like a brand's birthday. And it kind of is an opportunity Bluey is 5. Here's this article I read. Bluey from the BBC, which is taking over the whole world, is 5 this year. Ghostbusters, I think, was 40. Pac-Man, 45. SpongeBob celebrating a milestone. Minecraft is celebrating 15 years. I hope it's okay that I'm just going on about these different things, but I just thought it was so interesting. Tomy, the toy company, is celebrating 100 years. So yeah. Anyway, brand milestones. I think those classic brands are still really popular today. A toy company called Bandai owns Pac-Man and Namco Bandai, and Pac-Man is still going strong. There's a huge consumer product licensing program around Pac-Man. But in terms of your question, I think Minecraft is really huge. We were talking about digital first brands. That's another topic that's going to be at the Extract. There's really weird stuff out there. Some weird things like Skibbity Toilet, which was like, kind of started as a meme that is now turning into a whole licensing program. But in terms of, other hot toys, I think, plush is a really, really, really popular category. Our company is playing in the plush space with lots of different licensees. We actually created this category of squishy plush toys with a product line called Squeezimals that a licensee of ours came out with. And now we have a new licensee called Wincore that's doing it as the Mirrorball, which actually Learning Express just today, the head buyer of Learning Express, did a video on his LinkedIn saying, "Oh my gosh, everyone loves the SpongeBob Mirrorball. So go to Learning Express and buy the SpongeBob Mirrorball." But yeah, so a lot of plush is one of the hugest categories in the toy industry, and kids love action figures. They're still, buying a lot of the classic action figures that you bought when you were a kid.
By the way, is there any chance that you could do action figure of me and Marlene for our show?
Maybe that could be arranged. That could be arranged. There's, print on demand. There's a lot of opportunities to do 3D printing, and, companies like Funko, they're going to be at the Extract too. There are places where you can go and you can get custom action figures made. It's possible. It's quite possible, Chris.
My goal is to get a bobblehead one day. Bobblehead of me and Marlene.
Funko makes those. You can order your own. You can customize your own Funko figure.
Right.
My pal Jake Tajan, I don't know if he's watching. Hi Jake and Janet, if you're there.
Hi, Jake.
Jake got. I believe Janet, his mom, is the one who got him a custom Jake Tajan Funko bobblehead or not bobblehead, but figure. Because I don't know if it's right to call them bobbleheads. They're more than that. They're statues and sculptures, and And anyway, he had it at his birthday party a few weeks ago. He opened it up, and oh my God, he carried that around with him as if it was like his Oscar trophy. The whole party, he was so delighted with it. So I think that's probably something a lot of people would want, their own custom Funko figure.
And we have a LinkedIn user. This is Taylor, the voice of God. Hey, Gina, have you worked with Hasbro and companies that tailor their products closer to adult collectors, like replicas and based on properties that adults have loved since they were kids? Great question, Tyler.
Yeah. There's, lots of action figure brands based on anime or mixed martial arts, or I don't know about the props part of it, but about the prop replicas, but I think that could be really cool. I have worked a little bit with Hasbro through some of the different jobs that I've had, and also through some work that I do with a group called Women in Toys Licensing and Entertainment. But over the years, many different collectible brands. I started at a company called Jack Pacific over about 25 years ago, and one of the things that we worked with, Pokemon and Gundam and so many different ones, but basically one of the things that we used to do was create collector media briefings. So I did the public relations at the time, and we would really create a very special experience for the collector media. And I'm still friends with a lot of those folks today, like Rob Hull and Paul Nomad, Paul Nicolasi, and others who from actionfigures.com and lots of other action figure collectible media. And they were very important. So they really helped share out, special features that made these replicas very valuable and special, I think, to adult collectors. Marlene, you've probably worked with adult collectors too at Comic-Cons and all of your things that all the incredible brands that you've worked on with Sonic and so many of the anime properties that you work with, right?
Oh yeah. An early part of my career involved working with Bandai on Power Rangers, Digimon, Tamagotchi, Gundam.
Me too.
All that. Yeah, we were probably working in the same space at the same time. And
all those rounds, right? We were with Ellie Deckle.
And, with Ellie, exactly. Yeah. And I also have a history of dating adult collectors of toys, so I'm familiar with a lot of niche brands just through my personal life, my various ex-boyfriends and such, as well as my professional life. So I do feel somewhat like I'm somewhat of an authority on that subject. But the truth is that, and this is true for me as a collector and a toy lover too. Really anything could be for a collector, because a collector wants to be immersed in the brand, and if they like something, they meaning me, I will buy something even if it's part of a play line for little kids. And so, sometimes I'll buy two. So I'll buy one to keep in the box and display, right, and then one to play with. And I love to do that with, there's one of my favorite brands is a Japanese toy brand called Rement, RE-MENT. And I think that Rement was one of the OG blind box toy companies making these little housewares that are just perfect for Barbies. And so I had discovered them like 20 years ago and was a maniac about collecting them. But I'd always want like one set for my Barbies to use in whatever tableau they had schemed behind my back, and then one for me to set up or to save in the box, perhaps to open on a rainy day, or just to preserve for posterity. But yeah, collectors are such great curators of brands and just brain trusts. They'll know the whole history of the company, and they'll know the origins of all the toys and things like that. So
that's right.
Anyway, we love the really devoted fans.
I wanted to ask you guys, did you see about the Dodgers last night? They had an Otani bobblehead giveaway, and the lineups were 7 to 8 hours.
Oh wow! I didn't know about the lineups, but I did know about the giveaways. Some people that I know were involved with that. I know you've probably seen it too, Jenna, on your social
feed. I saw earlier this week they did a Hello Kitty Dodger giveaway. Oh. And but yeah, we're I'm hoping that soon we'll have a Dodger giveaway with our squishy sports balls. So we're working on that with a number of different sports teams with our plush patents to be doing sports ball giveaways that are branded.
Save me one because I'm a huge sports fan.
Yes. Okay, you got it.
Yes.
It'll be a collectible.
You're hired. Definitely, I collect stuff.
This is our new teddy bear this is our new that no one's ever really seen before. This is like a world debut, but it's called the Belly Bear. This is just a sample. It's not officially licensed Maryland merchandise, but I did go to Maryland and I'm teaching there, and I'm hoping. But yeah, it has a really squishy belly, big fat belly, and a belly button. Isn't it cute?
It's so cute. Oh my goodness, I love it.
Thanks. Thanks. Just order 1 million of them, and we'll be good to go.
That's why I love doing this show, and even my other shows, is having the guests on and the storytelling aspect. We're some guests and connecting with people from around the world, because I'm in Canada and you guys are out in the West Coast, and we're doing this. It's just amazing, the technology.
That's right. I agree with you.
Oh, speaking of technology, that is a good segue. I wanted to ask Jenna a question about working with inventors, because Jenna has this whole other aspect of her business, working with toy inventors, which it involves the squishy stuff. But Jenna's got this whole other persona as a facilitator of groundbreaking technology in the toy business.
Oh, well, thanks, Marlene. Yeah, I get to surround myself with our incredible team at GenCom. Allison Frome's our vice president of licensing, and Jeremy Medwed is. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, you're saying hi to them?
Yeah. I'm saying hi to Jeremy and Allison.
Hi, Jeremy and Allison. Jeremy actually invented our memory foam in plush technology, and also a really fun slime that we do that's patented at GenCom that has fiber in slime. So it makes slime fuzzy, furry, or hairy, and which is really fun. So we can do like unicorn slime, and unicorns are really hot right now. We're always looking at trends, so we're following trends, and there's lots of new unicorn brands. So they actually work with GenCom, but separate from that, we also represent third-party inventors who have some treasures. Like Marlene, from the game show space, we just licensed a new board game for an incredible game show creator, Mark Maxwell Smith, who has written, produced, starred in, created lots of different game shows. And so one of his ones from the 80s called Talk About is coming back as a new board game through Toyetic Brands. So GenCom found the great partner in Toyetic Brands, and they agree that, nostalgia brands like Talk About are ripe for a comeback, and there's a new TV show that's in the works as well. And then we're working on lots of other exciting games for Mark Maxwell Smith that he has. So can't wait to share more about that. But yeah, we represent a really cool innovation called Punchbox Surprise, created by Maria Diaz, which is an incredible experiential party favor. that we've licensed a couple different companies and looking for new partners on that for the party space. And so we have a lot of fun. We're working on a lot of different things. We have a new branded merchandise division at Gen Com that we're working on. Gen Com at Logo Woman in a partnership with a good friend of mine, Karen Claparta. This is the first piece of Gen Com. This is, okay, collectibles, classic collectibles. I just opened this actually for today, for our talk today. It was my last one. I should have kept it in packaging, maybe in the plastic with the stuff, but I broke it out for this show. This is the first piece of promotional merchandise I ever created for Gen Com when I started the company 12 years ago. And I didn't have any clients yet. And I was like, I need merch. So I'm like, we need cups. We need to give them to everybody. So I created these cups. And this is the very last one that I had. And I was like, I'm going to break this out for our talk today. But I have a whole new venture with my friend Karen that Gen Com is going to be creating like bespoke, beautiful, special giftable things that are branded, because we're a branding company. We're a consumer products company. We have a lot of huge ideas. And so we're just inspired by other people. I love this saying, we inspire together. It originally came up with a friend of mine, Jennifer Caveza, talking about, the collaborative work we do with women and toys. But I feel like it defines kind of my whole life, that I don't always have the first idea, but I'm so inspired by other people's ideas and their ventures and the things, their projects and things that they're doing, that I hear someone talking about something, I'm like, I have an idea. Sometimes it's too much for people. They think I'm trying to tell them what to do, but I just get excited because I have a lot of ideas. And so now we can parlay some of those ideas and help companies, people, brands like shine in ways, through brand and consumer products. So we're doing that work at Gen Com at logowoman.com. And I can't believe it. Like, we announced it like 1 week ago, and I'm already like working on like probably 20 different really exciting things. So I'm just trying to put it out there to people like, oh, you're doing this thing. I have this idea. And then they're like, oh my God, that's so exciting. Let's do that. So hopefully I can work with more of you out there and do create some special things to help you shine.
Jenna, I wanted to ask you this, and I'll get Marlene's thoughts too. Since you've been in the industry for 30 years and you started your own business 12 years ago, do you find there's more women now in the toy industry than it was when you first started out?
There are a lot of women who work in the toy industry. There probably were then too, but I think that there's, with the work of, especially with the work of like women in toys, licensing and entertainment, and I think that there's more women in leadership roles and who are really putting themselves out there as spokespeople of the industry versus just the worker bees. I think that the companies are realizing that, of course, men bring great ideas to the table, but our leadership teams are stronger when we have equal representation. And, whether that's talking about women or people of color or people with different abilities, whether that's physical abilities or mental abilities, diverse executive teams and diverse teams in general outperform non-diverse teams by 4-1. So if you have a group of all the same type of people, you're just not going to be in a position to understand really, truly what other groups are thinking and wanting and their experiences. And it's just doesn't make sense anymore for business to be thinking small that way. And so, yeah, I think there definitely, are more women in positions of leadership, but I think there's still a really long way to go. I think, for the industry, and I've really been trying to be part of this change for my whole entire career, but we've made a lot of progress, I think, on race and gender over the last 20 years. We really have so much more work to do in this space. And also, I think for for the disability space, something that's been really on my mind is we have really just scratched the surface in this area. I've spent a lot of time this past year asking people within the industry that I know if they can think of even anyone who works in the toy industry with a visible physical disability. And we really need to bring in more people who have, neurodiverse in the neurodiverse community, people on the autism spectrum, people who have physical disabilities. We are not really scratching the surface, I think, as an industry, the toy industry and the licensing industry. There's a few change makers and outliers, like, Mattel's done some great work putting out, a Down syndrome Barbie. They just brought a second one, putting out Barbie in a wheelchair and things like that. And there are certainly some products for people on the autism spectrum. But I think one of the things that I'm really interested in is just helping to create pathways for companies and people to be hiring diverse talent that could be exactly suited for so many different jobs, to have their product line be more inclusive, to be tapping diverse suppliers, to show more diversity in things like our advertising and sizzles. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time, I think, to help continue to create that change. When we started talking about it around women in the industry and for gender and race and evolving stereotypes and the products that we're putting out in the market, where they're sold at retail, what the advertising looks like. When we try to be intentional about that as an industry, we really have been able to create impact and change in that area. Like I said, there's still more to do, but we can really fire on more cylinders.
Another big change maker, Jenna, if you remember back to the Autism and Entertainment Conference, is Ubisoft, the video company, which has a really big neurodiversity initiative within the company in terms of hiring and creating a workplace that is not only inclusive, but fosters success for its workers who are on the spectrum. And there are, I believe, about 400 plus Ubisoft employees around the world who identify as either autistic or neurodiverse. So there are a lot of people who participate regularly in these initiatives within Ubisoft. And it's really been a wonderful thing to learn about. And we had 2 speakers from Ubisoft at the Autism and Entertainment Conference back in April. And I think their outreach is only expanding. So
that's great. I think just like any other community, not everyone who is on the spectrum or identifies as being neurodiverse is going to have the same skills, right? But there are so many different skills that different people might have that would lend them for, certain types of jobs. I was just seeing something really interesting. There's a bunch of different recruiting companies that help pair up people who have different abilities, recruiters with different types of companies, like Zavicon is one of those companies, right? The Easter Seals Disability Services we mentioned. There was another one, I think it's called Menta or Mentra, and I was listening to them talk, and they just had their CEO put out a really interesting LinkedIn post that said, "Oh, my flight was delayed because there was a power outage and all the planes were down." And then she basically said, air traffic controllers would be a perfect job for people on the, for some people on the spectrum who have a heightened ability to focus and to keep track and organization of the intricate web of, with the air traffic control. So I don't have all the right words because I don't work in that field, but I was like, that's so interesting. And if you look at, the toy industry or the licensing industry, again, not everyone's going to have the same skills. but there are a lot of people. We heard Jorge Gutierrez at Autism and Entertainment talking about, he's an artist, and his ability allowed him to create. Someone asked him for a character, he'll create 20 characters in that vein. And he has this ability to do it, have an incredible focus and to get a high number of output from his work. So I think that there's a lot of different jobs. Maybe it could be for people who are really great at math and finance and accounting and like royalties and licensing and that side of things. Or maybe it's people who are doing picking and packing, and like working on the shipping or the operations or the logistics side of things. But I again, it goes back to, I think that I'd like to think that companies and leaders like would want to do the right things, and maybe they just don't know how to do it, or they don't realize that there's certain jobs that actually might even be able to be, this is not charity. This is like, you might actually get much higher efficiency for people who are doing these jobs. And you're also like helping our whole entire economy rise by empowering some people who are often overlooked because maybe they don't ace an interview. But like, really, do you need someone who's like in the finance department to be able to ace the interview? No, you need them to be able to keep track of the details in the contract. So
right. Well, yeah, and something that's true in the world of acting and performing is that a good auditioner isn't necessarily a good performer, and vice versa. Like, people could just really nail it in an audition.
It's the same with interviews. You can be very bad at job interviews, but somebody gives you a chance, you can be great too.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's a variety of factors that contribute to that phenomenon, but yeah, it's not one kind of experience defines a person. It's a set of circumstances, and everybody deserves a chance.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Looks like you have a question. Should we answer that question?
This is from Taylor. Yes. He wants to know what's behind the scenes for fidget toy making.
Fidget toy making. I
don't know much about this, so.
Yeah. Well, I think, Tyler, we're really looking at trends and what's going on and what are the things that no one is doing. So I think we're, thinking about different materials that are available. What are different, what's different real estate and things that people are interacting with, throughout their day that might be a way for them to connect, maybe even discreetly, so that they can be playing with fidgets. Fidget spinners. Listen, as a kid, I bit my nails. I bit on pens. I still do it as an adult. It's a terrible habit. But I think that this was a form of self-soothing and fidgeting, really. Biting your nails or playing with a paper clip. I often have a paper clip on my fingers. And then fidget spinners came out and they were like, oh, fidgeting. Fidget is a self-soothing tool that helps calm people. People have been needing these tools since the beginning of time. What I think we learned after fidget spinners, though, is that form factor, how people fidget, can be toyetic and it can take on lots of different forms. And so then we saw things like poppets. Then we saw things like the fidget cubes. At the same time, like I said, Gen Com, introduced tactile squishy toys. Like these were calming fidget plush. And so I think, now it's a wide open field where people, really smart innovators can think about how do we know that people from the beginning of time, it feels so good to fidget. And how can we sort of satisfy that appetite and feed that appetite in new, unique ways. So more to come from us on that.
Jenna, do you have a little more time for a couple more questions? Marlene, I think we lost her. Or she's still there. But one question I wanted to ask you, and I can't take credit for it. This is from Marlene, but I think it's a great question, and I wanted to get it in. How are the toy and show business? How are toys and show business related?
Great question. So many toys are based on entertainment brands. So if you think about, some of the ones you mentioned that were your favorites as a kid, like Star Wars, even if you look at shows like The Office or Friends or, pretty much any show, Garfield the movie, there's going to be, there's an what's called entertainment IP. That could be a television show, a movie. It could be, an influencer who has short form content on YouTube. And then there's related merchandise because people want to embrace brands in their life as part of their lifestyle. So they want to wear the shirt. And, in the background, I see you have this picture of me and my son wearing Minecraft shirts. I don't know if your guests can see that, but, Minecraft is a gaming brand, but, now he's 10, almost 11 next week. But, when he was a couple of years ago, he had Minecraft underwear and a Minecraft backpack and a Minecraft t-shirt and a Minecraft cup and all the things. So I think, if people are watching entertainment, they want to be able to absorb that and really have fun with it. So, maybe they're wearing Paris Hilton lip gloss, or they might want to use a Paris Hilton crock pot. Another person who's going to be at the X-Track event is Bruce Gersh, who's the president of 1111 Media, talking about digital first brands. Here is a way where, folks like I mentioned that Skibbity Toilet and Paris Hilton, they're launching their brands in new ways on their social media, but they're creating content and they are the new mega franchises of tomorrow. But certainly entertainment, and like I read an article that Dunder Mifflin office copy paper did well for years. That's like a fake brand from a TV show about a paper company that became a real brand because people loved the show so much.
Marlene?
Yes, I agree with everything that Jenna said. Yes, I've observed the same thing. Also, the Friends brand has become so big 30 plus years after the show started. And
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that much merchandise
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, certainly not when the show launched. And even when it was in year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't remember seeing merchandise. It was really toward the end. And then after they stopped producing new episodes. So
that's right. Yeah. And, with Logo Woman, my business partner is creating Friends merchandise even now for the show's creators. So it's still really popular. If you go to, Marlene and I both go to a show called the Licensing Expo. There's Licensing International is the biggest licensing association, and there's a big licensing show, and a lot of these, what I call nostalgia brands or classic brands, they're popular today, and it's really contributing to this big mega trend called kidulting, where it's related to collectibles, and everyone from apparel to Legos are creating replicas of these iconic, scenes from where the movie was, or, I was seeing the house where the Brady show was filmed. There's, I think we should create an event there with Pac-Man and create a whole toy time machine over the holidays. Maybe you'll see something about that coming soon. That might just be something in my back pocket.
Are Rubik's Cube? When I grew up in the 80s, are Rubik's Cubes coming back in too?
Oh,
retro
Rubik's
toys?
Cube is so hot. That's one of the other milestone brands. They're celebrating 50 this year. I turned 50 last year, so I shared part of the
Happy
year.
belated birthday.
Thank you. I shared
Welcome
part
to the
of the
50
year.
club.
Yes, thank you. Now I'm 51, but I shared part of my birthday, part of the year with the same as Rubik's Cube, celebrating 50 years on this planet. And I will tell you that my son, who's going to be 11 next week, he is obsessed with Rubik's Cube. He's got the 3x3, he's got the 4x4. He actually learned how to do the Rubik's Cube. He's using technology and tools like YouTubers to help teach him some tricks about it. And it's also a fidget toy. So I think that's a really interesting, I think if we look through time, another really interesting fidget toy, I think one of the earliest fidget toys was the Slinky. So if you can remember,
yes,
they walk downstairs.
Yes.
If you think about it, that sound is like ASMR, which is this like really now we have all new words for these things that have been around since the beginning of time. ASMR, we did that with Slinky. You go like this, and you could close your eyes and you could just hear that sound of the springs going like that.
Yep.
And so let's see.
And even the smell of Slinky, that metallic smell, I love it.
Yes.
It's an iconic childhood experience, but who doesn't want to revisit the pleasant parts of childhood every now and again?
That's right. Does someone want to know fun facts without my...
I want to know.
Yes. What are some fun facts about Jenna Rosenberg?
Okay.
And some about your involvement over the years in the toy industry.
One time I held a collector media event when it snowed like 2 feet in Manhattan during Toy Fair, and people cross-country skied down Fifth Avenue to get to the toy building. That was pretty fun. I've held a birthday party for a lot of really famous friends, like Strawberry Shortcake. At the Grammys, we had a birthday party for Strawberry Shortcake at the Grammys. I have had a birthday party, I mentioned, for Cabbage Patch Kids for the Care Bears, and launched a really cool event for the Care Bears called Share Your Care Day. And one of the coolest things was that we created an oath with my team at Gen Com. And Janice Van Tyne and Debbie Dunn and I'm pretty sure, created an oath, and we got like almost 400 bloggers to stand up at a breakfast at the Sweet Suite, which was a big blogger event put on by Adventure Publishing and the Toy Book. And we got them to stand up and raise their right hand and say, "I swear I will share my care," and to pledge to the Care Bears that they will share out this message of sharing is caring on Share Your Care Day. And it was a really special. We have a selfie of the Care Bears with 400 people standing up giving the pledge. And my friend and colleague Janice Van Tyne, I was about to go on stage and lead them in the pledge and ask them to do this, to take this pledge that they'll share their care and put positivity into the world. And she said to me, "Jenna, after they say the pledge, tell them to hug." And so I was like, okay. And so I go out on stage. She whispers to me, "Tell them to hug." And so I got out and they do the pledge, and I said, "And now hug." And then the whole room started hugging, and everyone's turning around and hugging. And that was a fun, that was a pretty special moment too. So, and I've been involved for a long time with the Wonder Woman Awards with Women in Toys, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks. I am really so honored at my affiliation with Women in Toys for all these years, and looking forward to seeing everyone at that event. That's at the Beverly Hilton on September 13th. So I think tickets are still available, and they're going to have...
Is there a website?
Yes, it's called womenintoys.com. And it's hundreds and hundreds of men go as well. And so the whole, anyone who is interested in toys, licensing, or entertainment is welcome to come to that. And the X-Track event is entertainmentxtracks.com. We just announced Angel City Football Club is going to be there. So that's really special. We're going to have a whole women in sports. Like, it's about time. Overdue, long overdue, like amazing segment on women in sports. And there was this really cool viral t-shirt. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but that was all over the Olympics that said everyone actually does watch women's sports, and it's like been selling out everywhere. I think there was like a big New York Times article about it last week. And in Harper's Bazaar, I think they sold like 5 million shirts. And Justine Brown, who's been working on that shirt, is going to be there also. And from Together RX. And so that's like, it's going to be amazing.
And finally, Marlene, do you want to ask Jenna this question before we wrap up in 2 minutes?
Oh, you know what? Why don't you do it?
Okay.
I feel like the last dance should go to you, Chris.
Okay, no problem. Well, I just want to ask you, Jenna, this is kind of a new segment I do on my other shows, but do you have a question for Marlene and myself?
Wow.
You'd like to ask us?
Yes, I do. Okay, so Chris, how long have you been a radio DJ? I'm so impressed with your DJing skill. I was a DJ in college only for a short amount of time, but it's so much fun, and I'm really impressed with how quick on your feet you are.
4.5 years. I basically started at the age of 47. I was doing some volunteer work for a semi-pro basketball team. They asked me to do camera work. I volunteered. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't looking for a new career at this time. This was just before the pandemic. They liked my camera. They paid me for it. And then it led me to doing some camera work for a major cable company here in Toronto. And the camera work led to my podcast, which led to my radio show. And then I do freelance media work for a number of professional sports teams in Toronto and Buffalo. And I want to prove to people that age is just a number. And I do have a college background in law and security, but I'm self-taught myself into a new career. So technology, you always hear the negative things about it, but social media, if you use it the right way, can be a really good tool. And I just love doing this. I love talking to people. And one thing I've learned, talking's important, but listening is just as important, if not even more. And I had to do that in my former career when I was in security.
I love that. And that's something that I talk about in my class, as I mentioned. Like, you don't have to be one thing, you don't have to do one thing. So I love that you were interested in sports. You knew you were a talker. You were interested in technology and getting your podcast off the ground, and you went for it. And I bet you, if you have contracts to do, you'll be able to utilize your law background and your, savvy with those skills in other ways. So kudos to you. That's really impressive and incredible. Marlene, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So Marlene, your company is called Pink Poodle Productions.
Yes, it is.
Where did you come up with that name? And do you really love pink poodles, or what's the story?
Why, yes, I do love those things. And it's a simple story. I just love pink and I love poodles. And I wanted to think about things that I loved when I'm doing business. Therefore, Pink Poodle Productions was the logical choice, maybe the only choice. It was meant to be because of and also because my chief inspiration officer, Blanche Dubois Sharp, is a poodle Bichon mix. But she identifies as a poodle when we need her to, like for the purposes of the mascot of the company. So, yes. So, I mean, there was really there was no question in what the name of my company had to and must be, and it's Pink Poodle Productions.
Oh, that's so great. I just want to mention that I think there's like a scrolling that, follow me on X and on my website, but I'm most active on LinkedIn. So definitely look for me on LinkedIn. And on there's an expression, the shoemaker has shabby shoes. My website's been down, like, I think the entire time I've had a company. So find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, find me on Facebook. But you might not actually be able to find me on my website. But it does exist, but it just doesn't really have any content on it. So find me somewhere else if you're really trying to find me.
By the way, out of all my shows, I would say about 80% of my guests come from California. So I feel like I've never been to Los Angeles, but I know so many people there from this show, and I'm hoping to get out to California one
Come
day
out.
to visit
We'll
LA.
take you to the Agra Tandoori Indian food restaurant,
Yes.
and then we'll make you a believer. It's delicious.
I've
And
never
do
been
a-
on. Go
yeah,
ahead.
a Dodgers giveaway night too.
Definitely. I've never been on an airplane yet in my 52 years, so I think I've got to try an airplane once.
Yes, you must. And actually, if you want the scoop, my son Braden Rosenberg, he wants to be an influencer who talks about airplanes, and he could tell you everything about every plane. He had evolved his Minecraft obsession into an obsession of traveling airplanes, airplane lounges, the meals, the snacks, and yeah. So we could give you some tips.
If Braden and our friend Atticus Baldwin got together, they would have half of the transportation industry covered with trains and planes.
Oh, good to know.
Could you imagine that that brain power and that collective knowledge?
Yes, we need to take more trips just so that we can get on some airplanes and satisfy the fix.
And by the way, my niece Paisley, she's 24. She's in Florida right now. She's going for a pilot's license.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, good luck to Paisley. And thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
And last question, Marlene, do you want to ask the last question before we wrap this up?
Oh no, I thought we had a few last questions.
No.
I'm tapped out, so go for it.
Okay,
Go for
this
it.
is it. This is not really a last question. Just quickly, what's your advice, Jenna? What advice would you give to those people who are watching this live stream or on audio platforms or on WQE 99.1 FM looking to pursue a career in the toy industry?
Well, I think just start to make yourself an expert. Think about what do you do? What are you really good at doing? And then dive in. There's so many resources. First of all, if you happen to be a student, there are I think free or almost free memberships with womenandtoys.com, the Licensing International, and Toy Association. They have job boards. I think, start to just be eyes wide open. Look at products that you like. Think about categories that you like, and think about what you're good at. So for example, if you're really into gardening, or you're a graphic designer and you have an interest in the toy industry, maybe you can find a company like Horizon or Themes and Cosmos who have products where people, they sell kits to make gardening toys that inspire kids. I'm been thinking a lot about this is going to sound a little weird, but I'm thinking a lot about the farming industry lately and about agriculture and agricultural technology and how much rides on this, that we need to inspire future farm workers even into careers with farming. So maybe the way to do that is to create cool toys that, or more cool toys that are around, farming vehicles or grow toys or other things like that use different innovations. So I know that's a little bit out there, but let's say you happen to be really into gardening. Maybe you can help, in that category of products, or maybe you're really into magic. You could create magic toys, or maybe you're not, like in the movie Elf, Buddy, wasn't really good at making the toys, but maybe you're a good writer. Well, and you have Chris's skills. Maybe you can, be a social media person, or, like Tyler, who is great at voiceover work. You can be a voiceover actor doing sizzles. So there's so many different ways to get involved. And I would just say research companies that you're interested in, research categories, learn about the industry. There's trade magazines like the Toy Book and the A&B Media and Licensed Global Magazine. I would try to get your hands on them. Go to the website, sign up for it. They'll send you an issue and just learn about the different companies and categories and dive in.
Thank you so much, Jenna. And Marlene, I want to say thank you for arranging Jenna. Jenna, you know you have an open invite to come back on our show again. And I really appreciate you giving us over 80 minutes of your time. I thought the conversation was going well.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Marlene, for inviting me.
I never want to. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
No problem. And just, hey, the conversation was great. And if you both can give me a little bit of time tonight, I will do an audio, video, and some reels of this so you guys can share it on your social media pages. And I really enjoyed talking to you, Jenna, and learning about the toy industry. And I could probably talk to you for 4 or 5 hours on this subject.
Me too, but I don't think people want to listen for that long. But thank you both so much.
And thank you, Brenda Taylor,
watchers and listeners.
Yes.
Brenda Taylor and Paul Peters from Facebook.
And
thank you for watching
Tyler
as
too.
well.
Tyler Berman. Thank you for yes, Tyler's
Tyler.
one of
Okay,
our
thank you so much.
listeners and chief cheerleaders.
Awesome. Great to see you all.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Marlene will be in touch.
Care.
Jenna will be in touch. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 2, episode 8 of the Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and Chris Pomay here on this Thursday, August 29th, 2024. And I want to say thank you to my guest, Jenna Rosenberg, the CEO of her own company called Jenna.com. And you can find Jenna Rosenberg on social media, Instagram and LinkedIn especially. Before we wrap up this show, guys, yesterday I had some electrical work done in my basement, and I want to give a shout out to Sean Gammy. That's Sean Gammy, Gamie. Part of his business called Conductive Electrical Solutions Incorporated. He's a master electrician and owner. He's located at 65 McNabb Street East in Elora, Ontario. His telephone number is 519-820-5442. And you can email Sean at conductiveelectricalsolutions.ca. And his website is www.conductiveelectricalsolutions.ca. He did a wonderful job. And if you need an electrician, Sean Gamby, Conductive Electrical Solutions Incorporated. And again, I want to say thank you to Jenna Rosenberg for coming on and Marlene Sharp as my co-host as well. By the way, guys, a shout out to Connor Sauve. He's doing a 65-kilometer walk this Saturday from BMO Field in downtown Toronto to TM Hortons Field in Hamilton. The estimate time of his walk is approximately 15 hours of walking and going up the lakeshore the majority of the way to Hamilton. And this is for the CFL Fans Fight Cancer Challenge. I can talk. And you can go on his Twitter X page at Sauve Connor, Sauve with a capital S and Connor with a capital C, and you can donate through CFL Fans Fight Cancer or his Twitter X page as well. My next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com and on WQEE 99.1 FM, is going to be Monday, September 2nd, Labor Day here in Canada and the US at 5 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Dr. Elizabeth Princeton, a holistic lifestyle counselor, and we're going to talk about health and wellness, and we're going to talk about marriages, relationships, and dating in 2024 as well. And that's about it for our show. I want to say thank you again to Marlene Sharp, my co-host, and Jenna Rosenberg, our wonderful guests here tonight. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter/X, and on Instagram, and also on audio platforms such as Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Tuned In. And I guess our next episode, season 2, episode 9, will be in September. So Marlene and myself will see you guys in September. And next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is going to be in September on Monday, May 2nd, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 on the West Coast, with Dr. Elizabeth Princeton, holistic lifestyle counselor. And it's going to be a great show on Monday as well. I hope everybody has a great night and enjoy their long Labor Day weekend. And we'll see you back here in September for episode 9 of the Small Talk podcast. Good night, everybody.